Boy, it feels like a Friday, doesn't it? Why does it feel like a Friday, Cameron?
Because we're going to talk about some firearms.
Oh, some shit went down yesterday, except, wait. No, it really didn't.
Yeah, funny that.
Huh.
Armed
So,
societies are polite societies.
armed societies are polite societies. You know, it's funny how this all went down. Ralph Northam
Governor
is,
Blackface.
yeah, Governor
Governor, we'll
Blackface.
talk about it after the baby's born. Governor, I've worn blackface and
We'll keep them
KKK robes so
comfortable.
often, I can't remember which one I am in that picture. Anyhow, that governor.
Ralph Northam is not a bad governor, technically. It's not that he's incompetent. It's not that he's unskilled or unsavvy. No. He's quite simply an evil man. Um so let's talk a little bit about how yesterday went. Uh or rather how we got to yesterday. So Ralph Northam and his Democrat supermajority in Virginia are looking to ban semi-automatic rifles, shotguns, and pistols. Everything. They want to take your guns, right? Remember when
Yeah, no
Obama said?
grandfather clause, all that.
Remember when Obama said That's just crazy. Nobody's coming for your guns. Nobody's coming to take your guns away.
Hell yes, we're gonna take your AR-15, your AK-47.
Oh, is that what? Oh, wait. Something about that. That's in a Democrat presidential debate, and the audience is full of presumably Democrats.
Hell yes, we're gonna take your AR-15, your AK-47.
You know what's scary about that? That could be one lone nut, one crazy extremist. Yeah? Who doesn't matter. You got one nut job screaming craziness at the sky. He doesn't matter. But that's not what you have
Hell
there.
yes, we're gonna take your AR-15, your AK-47.
You have rabid applause from an auditorium full of people who are going to vote for one of the people on that stage. And it may be Beta O'Rourke, that said, hell yes, we're going to take your AR 15s. But there is not one candidate for president right now on the Democrat side that is not pursuing at least heavy gun confiscation. That person just doesn't exist in the Democrat Party.
Um, I think what Beta did, and we've talked about this before, is he let the cat out of the bag. It's not that he really said anything out there. It's just, you see it on Twitter, you see it on Facebook. You'll hear, leftist YouTubers go, calm down, alt-righters. Nobody's coming to take your guns. And yet, that's exactly what's happening in Virginia. Because there's a couple of things that are happening in Virginia. And we talked about it on the show, but just brief recap. Virginia is going to basically redefine militias, terrorist groups, whatever, so that they can say that a group of pro Second Amendment people getting together and holding a rally, well, can't do that anymore. That's illegal. It causes fear and terror. They're also radically redefining what quote unquote an assault weapon is,
And
which,
there and there was this whole thing about how the FBI arrested 3 white supremacists on charges of conspiracy to commit a terrorist attack on this. What?
well, out of thousands of people there,
What?
a half a dozen nut jobs show up. That's I mean, that's par for the course, really, in any event. Like, you know, look at a packed football game. Everybody there is as clean and pure as the wind-driven snow. But the other thing that's happening in Virginia is not only are all these radical changes going to be made and firearms will be heavily restricted, they also won't be grandfathered in, which means the only thing you'll be allowed to do with these illegal weapons is turn them over to the state for confiscation. And this is what's led to Virginia counties and cities declaring themselves as sanctuary cities and sanctuary counties. In particular, like the story about the sheriff that says he'll just deputize everybody in his jurisdiction so they can continue to own their firearms. It's like, there you go. Good job, guys. You've literally created the police state entirely by accident with your gun control legislation. So, what happened? Well, there's a protest that happens every year in Virginia. And things happen in Virginia and Washington, D.C. all the time. There is forever some march happening for this or for that. It's not just like the pink pussy hat stuff that makes the news. Like, people go to our capital and protest. It just happens. So once a year, there's a pro Second Amendment rally that happens, and it happens near the state capitol. So Governor Blackface decided, I'm going to declare that a gun-free zone. So the rally literally just happened across the street. People said, oh, okay, we can't walk more than 100 feet within the capitol. Cool, we'll just stay 150 feet away. And so you've got anywhere from 22,000 to God knows how many people there. And please believe 99% of them were armed. And not a single shot was fired.
Not one. And there was no Antifa nonsense. There was no black bloc bullshit. There were not violent black masked protesters for two reasons. Lawful gun owners are not violent criminals like Antifa and, Democrats in general. And criminals don't attack armed people. Okay? Berkeley is on fire. Seattle is on fire. Right? Liberal cities, leftist cities, where people shit in the streets and shoot heroin in their toes in the doorways of private businesses. Those cities are on fire because they're soft targets. These lefties eating their own stuff, they're burning down their own cities, which, hey, on one level I support. Go for it. It's kind of like my position on not birth control, but abortion. Kind of like my position on abortion. I am absolutely morally opposed to abortion, but if the enemy is making a mistake, don't interrupt them. If the Democrats want to exterminate themselves in the womb, go for it. I'll raise my children to be fruitful, productive, and decent, and they'll raise beautiful, fruitful, productive, decent children.
Yes.
And the enemy will die. So, just real quick on the gun-free zone thing. We've talked before, and I absolutely believe this. If a person is injured in a gun-free zone due to the criminal activities of an armed person, then the person who was injured because they were trying to be compliant with the requirements of the gun-free zone and therefore unarmed and unable to defend themselves, that injury is the absolute legal responsibility of whatever authority declared the gun-free zone. And I want to take that a step further. The oath that every elected official takes is to defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So let me be very clear. The Second Amendment prohibits, it doesn't give us the right to keep and bear arms. The Second Amendment is not our right to keep and bear arms. Our right to keep and bear arms is a part of our right to defend ourselves within our God-given right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The government does not give us that right. The Second Amendment prohibits any body, and that any space, body, not any person, any organization, any individual, or any agglomeration there betwixt, from legislating in any way which infringes, that is, to put a restriction around, to infringe, to frame the right to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. So I don't care if you're talking about background checks, or bump stocks, or magazine capacities. If you have ever signed in the affirmative, every single elected official who has ever signed in the affirmative to the passage of any legislation that entails the infringement of the right to keep and bear arms, you are holding your oath in bad faith, you are a traitor to the country, you are a criminal, and your crime, as defined by Article 3, Section 3, is indisputably punishable by death. And let me be even more clear. That crime, given your signature on a public document, is witnessed by far more than the requisite 3 witnesses. You are the enemy, which is domestic.
Gee, buddy, why don't you tell us how you really feel? That was obviously a rhetorical device.
And gun owners generally are responsible people. For me, for example, I wear a gun every day, and I haven't shot anybody in 9 years.
Something like that. Something like that. But that's the thing. Most gun owners, and this is, again, something we've talked about before, about how, I don't just view my firearm as a right. I view it as a privilege. I view it as a responsibility. There's just a certain amount that goes along with owning a firearm, not the least of which is for safety reasons. But it is in and of itself an awesome responsibility to carry a weapon of any kind. Because if push comes shove, what are you going to do with that weapon? And it's real easy to fancy yourself as John McClane fighting back against terrorists in Nakatomi Plaza. Great flick. But the reality of it is, and this is something Chris can speak to, when the bullets start flying, it's not the same thing at all. Things go wrong real quick. So seriously, when you take that responsibility, what are you going to do? How far are you going to take that responsibility? And just a couple of things that I want to point out. I'm suspicious of the number, the 22,000. I would not at all be surprised if it was much, much larger and it's being portrayed as smaller. Because as we tried to follow the live streams yesterday, they all got shut down. And, that was kind of funny.
Yeah, I got unsubscribed from Breitbart like 3 times yesterday.
And as far as the speakers, I didn't see any of what the speakers said, did, whatever. I never saw any of that in any of the streams.
And that's not just me looking at, that's not, same here, and that's not just me, pulling up YouTube and it not being in the recommended. Like, I went looking for it.
Yeah, and at about 10 a.m., there was like 3 streams going on. And I was kind of checking out the different streams. And then
And
by
it's funny
about.
that they left RT up. They shut down all the other streams and they left RT up.
Yeah. Anyhow, I attended a Tea Party-esque rally some 10 years ago. And while I don't know exactly how many people were there, I have been to concerts, football games, that kind of thing. So I have an idea about what looking at 25,000, 30,000 people looks like. Um, the news reported the number of people at the rally that I attended anywhere from 18,000 to 40,000 people. Now, if you ask me, there was 250,000 there on at a minimum. Like I could look out into the crowd and see multiple football fields worth of people in the crowd. And so the media couldn't report nobody showed up, but the media could deliberately undercount how many people were there because 22,000 is a big jump from 220,000. And I would not at all be surprised if there was at least 100,000 people there. The media undersold it on purpose, and that's part of why all these live streams got shut down. The other thing, oh, and look, I was actually about to talk about the thing you pulled up a picture for.
Hey, what do you know?
The Tea Party rally that I attended was clean. Like everybody made it up, even when the trash cans began to overflow, because for some reason, despite being, in the place where the federal government is supposed to work, it wasn't working. The trash service wasn't running that day. People were making it a point to stack the trash up neatly next to the trash cans. Like it was just amazing. Everybody picked up their garbage. The joke was made that the mall and the monument were actually cleaner after the rally than they were before the rally began, which I would believe. And it's just another one of those differences between what happens on the right and what happens on the left. Because
Oh,
you're
you
sold
mean
this whole.
you mean like what it looked like after Occupy Wall Street, or or after your average climate protest, or after the Women's March?
Yeah, you're sold this bill of goods that people on the right are these uncouth, that people on error, that people on the right are these uncouth, hate-filled bigots that are uneducated, and yet their protests have a tendency to go off without a hitch. There's no violence, and whatever venue the right rents out has a tendency to be cleaner at the end as opposed to dirtier. And man, and I know we're running way behind and we got to go, but dude, I was pretty terrified. Yesterday was going to be the false flag, boogaloo, whatever. Like, do you think there was actually
Well,
Antifa out there? They looked around and went,
nope.
wait a minute.
Yeah,
No.
Antifa doesn't happen where good people are armed. I mean, it's this simple. Antifa is not a civilian movement. Antifa is the active, violent terrorist arm of the Democrat Party. They're no different than the KKK. Their
Ooh.
rhetoric is markedly different because they've switched their identity politic position, but Antifa and the KKK are the same organization. They even have a lot of the same leadership. So,
Oh, that's interesting to think about. But anyhow, brother, that is all I got this morning. I am
yeah,
running behind.
yeah, shit to do. All right, get your socks on, go to work, stay out of Northern's murder cages.
All right, man. I will talk to you later.
Yes, sir.